In this video I'm going to talk about the basic routines when you make a winter camp. My name is Matti. I'm living up in northern Sweden in Jokkmokk. I'm working as a dog musher and nature guide, and I do it together with my partner Stina. So this is actually what we're doing for a living. Right now I'm out here with 10 of our dogs, and I just decided to put up the winter camp close to the sled and spend the night here. The first thing you start doing is searching for an open place where it's flat and a place that fits your tent. If you're up in the mountain, you also need some wind protection and shelter from a small ridge or something like that. You can also build a wind shelter with snow blocks if you need that. But it's good if the place is a little bit sheltered if it comes storms. Now I'm in the forest area just above the Arctic Circle outside Jokkmokk, and this is protected area, so it's no problem here. This place is also close to a small creek, so I don't know if I will find water later on, but when you have dogs with you or if you're spending several nights in one place, it takes a lot of time to melt snow. So I prefer to find a place where I have access to water. That saves a lot of time and energy for you. The water, if you find it in a creek or something like that, it's also much more tasty than if you melt snow, because in the snow there is no minerals. One of the first things I do is that I'm searching for a place that is big enough for the tent, like here. And then I want to use my skis for flatten that area. I don't want it too far away from my sled, so I want to have easy access for carry my stuff. If you're a skier or a backpacker, you bring the backpack or the pulka to the tent, of course. But for me, I will not move the sled from here tonight because it's here where I park my dog team. So I want the tent kind of close to the dogs. Where are you going to have the tent? You had to first start to compress the snow at that place. I use a snowshoe ski from a company called OAC. I put a link in the description to the skis. I use a kind of small snowshoe ski from them, and I also made a video from that. You can head over to the channel and then you find a video about these skis. I use snowshoes sometimes, but nowadays I really enjoy these snowshoe skis. They are short, they fit to the sleds, and much easier and better than snowshoes actually if you use with skis. They have different models, of course, but then I use them for compressing the snow. And what I'm doing when I'm compressing the snow is to get the air out of the snow. I'm stepping around and moving around the snow, push it down and get rid of the air in the snow. The snow crystals are also very sharp with edges and so, and when you're stepping around on them and rolling them, they get less fluffy, and that make it freeze and get harder faster. While this is freezing, then I go searching for water, or I do some other camp stuff, fetching some firewood and so on, because it's good, not necessary, but it helps a little bit if the campground can freeze for half hour or something like that. If you listen, you can actually hear the water. You hear? In this video I'm going to use a Gamme 6 PC from Nortent. It's a heavy tent, it's a 6-person tent, and I'm using it of two reasons. One reason is because this tent was already wet, because Stina was out with it some days ago. The second reason is that I'm going to make a review of this tent tomorrow morning before I'm leaving. That's the reason why I brought this huge tent. Otherwise I probably have brought a smaller one. But I really like this tent, and you will see how comfortable it is inside. You've probably seen it in some other videos. You can also see right now that I'm still wearing my skis, and if I'm not wearing my skis I will making big holes in this snow, so I prefer to wear my skis while putting up the tent. So what actually happened now is that my headlamp is out, and then it's important to know where the extra battery is, so you can swap the battery while it's dark. So now we can continue. I have made a video about the different kind of headlamps we are using. I put a link in the description to that video too. But it's always super important. Spare batteries, where are they? Where is the headlamp? Because suddenly it's dark and then you need it, and then you don't want to search for it, you just want it. You see, this also happened in the winter. The elastic string get losing the tension. That happened with most of the tent, and sometimes you had to open it in one side and tighten it, of course. Or you swap them at home. You see, you can open it here and tighten it. Now I don't do it because I'm going to change this rubber. I need new. One thing that actually is quite important is that when you're dealing with things, don't put them in the snow. Avoid to get snow into food boxes and into your equipment. Even a pot like this is what I'm going to catch water in. A big pot like this, when you put it on the snow, it freezes snow under it. One thing that is easy to forget is to drink by yourself. Drinking and eating something. That's actually something you can do directly when you stop. If you are skiing to the camp, or if you're hiking to the camp with snowshoes, and if you have used a lot of energy, it's not a bad idea to stop a little bit before you reach the camp spot. And stop there, take some peanuts, nuts, eat something. Because when you start putting up the camp, it's easy 1 hour work before you are in the tent with the food again. And when we do dog sled tour, we usually drive with the dogs, take care of the dogs, eating something, and then put up the tents. Now, time for some water. I brought some firewood from home, because then I can make fire more fast. But I also need to go out and search for some wood. I take away some snow here now, because then I can more or less sit. I get the bend. But now it's so little snow here right now, so normally we have much more snow up here. I will show you some video clip from how it can look like. Now when I compressed, I have so much snow. Sometimes it's 1 meter. But this is how it is sometimes. On the snow I put a tarp that should protect me from getting wet from the underside, and then on top of that I put my air mat. And I haven't put this out yet because Annie had diarrhea when we arrived, so I wanted her to be a little bit more clean before I put out the sleeping stuff here. So on top of the air mat I put this super thin insulation mat. This one, it is just few millimeters actually. This one we bought from Backpacking Light. This is double wide. They also exist in thinner. Right now I use it in this chair. It's a out mountain chair. This chair we buy from a company in Sweden called Packraft Sweden. But in winter time it's kind of cold to sit in here. So that was the reason why I added this isomat in the chair. And normally I don't bring chair in winter time, but this time I know it was not so much snow, so I brought it because I wanted to sit good. Normally I'm sitting on here on the edge of the with my feet into the hole, but now there is no hole. Right now we're going to fill air into the air mat. We use X-Bed down mat, and we use them. This one is extra wide, extra long. Especially in winter you want longer isomats and wider isomats, because you really don't want to fall off the isomat. I think in summertime that is not so important. Flex tail gear. This we bought to the Packraft boats, and it actually fit for the mats too. When you have a YouTube channel and you start getting more and more views, companies like this start sending stuff to you. Usually they ask first, and they send this small pump. It's a very handsome small pump actually, but it's so stupid. You can't charge it. So you need a special battery. You can't charge it with USB. There is a rechargeable battery in it, but the battery itself can't charge. So now I had to get the battery. It exists battery that Nightcore have, that you can plug in USB-C straight into the that one. This one you can recharge very easy, and you can also use it as a power bank. See, you add it there, and then you turn it on, and then you just wait. But now you see it's switched off. The battery was empty, and I don't have spare batteries. So then we do this. This is much more. This one, this is power, and you can fill up your Packraft boat several times, and this is really good. Look. Very often I think that you can use this and pump it up, but you should remember this is electrical stuff, so it's not super environmental friendly to produce this equipment. So maybe a bag like this is the most environmental friendly, but I use the pump also very much. I like them and we use them. I'm lazy and I'm a part of the environmental problem. This time I brought my synthetic Carinthia sleeping bag. This is good comfort temperature down to -20 Celsius, and they are not so expensive. I think one of these are 300 euro. And if I compare that with my down sleeping bag from Western Mountaineering, that is 1200 euro. 300 euro, 1200 euro. Then I would say that this is a cheap one. So I really use my synthetic ones a lot, especially when I'm camping like this, I have firewood and so on. And when I'm not dependent on a lightweight equipment. Later in the season, when I start to travel up to the mountains, I want lighter equipment, and then I also start using my more expensive sleeping bag. And this is a super important part of the camping routines during the winter. Never ever bring snow into the sleeping area. Don't jump up here, don't with shoes and things like that. Snow is water. Water is wet. And you don't want to get wet. So keep the snow away from here. So now my sleeping spot is ready, the harness is in for drying, the dog have got food and all that stuff. And now finally it's time for me to get some dinner. I made a mistake. Sausage. I put the sausage under the stove because I wanted them to melt, and they melted. One thing that is really good, and that is that you organize the food. I have a food box like this, and I usually organize the food and everything. Now I forgot I usually have a big piece of wood under the stove, and if I'm not camping in a hot tent like this, I put a big piece of wood in the entree of my tent, and then I put fuel stoves on them so I can cook there, because I want to be able to cook inside the tent. But you had to be super careful with ventilation. All the air goes into the stove and burn there, and all the bad gases goes out in the pipe. If you have the gasoline stoves or something, fuel stoves inside the tent, you don't have the chimney, you don't have the pipe that takes it away, so then you had to be much more careful. It is nice to be able to sit inside and cooking, because if you are outside, it's snowing, sometimes you have snowstorm. It's not working if you are out. You had to learn to cook inside, and you had to be super serious about it, because the consequence if you make a mistake kills you. You need the oxygen, and you can easily get carbon oxide poisoning, and that is not good. We add some salt. So now, this is a good thing with winter camping, that actually camping, all camping, but winter camping especially, you can just put out the hot water. This is hot water from the pasta, so I just put it on the ground like this. If you are more people in a tent camp like this, camping around, then it's more important that you actually decide where is the toilet, which direction do you peeing, because especially if you're out with men, guys start peeing all over the place. Girls are a little bit more not peeing all over the place. So that's also an important part. Now we add the pasta there. On top of this pasta we add some black pepper. That's good. And on top of that we add some sriracha sauce. So I made a mistake today. I didn't measure how much pasta I bought, so I took a little bit, not enough with pasta, and then I also managed to destroy some of the sausage. So yeah, I will not die, but, and maybe it's good to not eat super much every day, but it's a little bit not maybe enough with food, but that's how it is. This would be great. This stove we use is a Wienerweld fast fold, and I don't know, the size of it is the one with a nested pipe. It's not with a rolling pipe, and I think the stove and the pipe is around 3 kilograms. I put a link down in the description to that stove. It's a really good stove. We have some different size of this stove, and for me, I started out with the small Wienerweld ultralight backpacking 1 kilo stove to this tent, and with that one I couldn't really keep it warm. I will make a review of this tent and the stoves we're using later on, and you can find more information there. And what's good for me is maybe not good for you. I don't know. So you see, it's a lot of things you had to do when you arrive and you start putting up the camp. That's why I said earlier that it's super important to take a tea, drink something, snacks, something, so you get energy, so you survive until you get to dinner. Now we're going to make coffee, and today we are not going to make the normal coffee that I usually make. No, today we're going to make French press coffee. French press coffee. You know this press coffee, presso. This is something we got from a company called Silver Ant. It's titanium, and if you buy something like this that you scratch like this, aluminium is not good, plastic is not good. It should be something that is actually kind of healthy for you, and this titanium, I think that's okay. Then we have, this is just normal coffee, not dripping coffee but boiling coffee. We take 5, I don't like, we take 1 more, I don't like weak coffee. So, and adding some hot water. I got the Christmas gift from Stina also. I got this hand-made wooden cup. You see? We don't give things to each other only because it's Christmas or something in the calendar. We give things when we find something. And Stina found this and gave it to me. And it's a coffee mug, and it's made of John's Slöjd. You find him on Instagram, John Slöjd. And it's super beautiful pattern here. Really beautiful. And really nice. When you have something like this, you usually have it for many years. Up here in northern Sweden, we also very often have something like this. It's a coffee bag, and this one I made it by myself. You just buy the reindeer skin, and then you use the thread that you're using between your teeth. That one you can make the stitches with. And inside it I have a plastic bag and I have my coffee. It's not the lightweight equipment, but I like it. It has the soul. I don't bring it on hiking trips up in the mountains. Then I minimalize my equipment. Minimalize, yeah. So then I don't carry heavy stuff like that. And this I don't want to carry either on lightweight backpacking trips. But dog sledding and canoeing and at home, of course. Another thing that is really important when you do camping is that all stuff that are wet, dry them. It could be clothes, it could be dog booties. Always try to have as dry equipment as possible. And if you don't have a stove like I have now, then you dry clothes on your body. You put a dry layer inners and then you dry another layer outside the moisture layer. Now it's time for my coffee and I will enjoy it. This bun is saffron's bun. Bun, coffee. Really good. One thing that I like to do before I go to bed is that I actually put away things. This one is not important to put away because I'm going to use it tomorrow, but I put away other things that I know that I'm not going to use, and I pack it. I want another cup of tea before I go to bed, so then I need a tea bag. Here we have tea bags. One of the things that I think is very important routine when you do winter camping is that now, for example, I'm ready to go to bed. Then I will take off all my out layer, pants and jackets and everything. I will put them in a bag so they are dry tomorrow, so they are not absorbing moisture during the night. Before I start undressing, I will go out and moving around, cutting some firewood, checking the dogs, or just walking, running. I need circulation in my body, so I'm warm. So I want to have a warm body that drops into the sleeping bag, not being cold and then try to be warm in the sleeping bag. So go out, go for a hike and get warm. And then there is another thing that's super important, and that's ventilation. You see, this tent have a kind of canvas fabric, so you don't get so much condensation here. I made a YouTube video about condensation, you can check it. It's a link in description, and how that works. But if you get condensation, everything gets moisture and wet. With this one, it's acting different, but that's another question. Whatever tent you have, you should keep ventilation open. You should try to ventilate out moisture air. You don't want moisture air inside the tent. Last cup of tea is the one that I regret tonight. Because if I drink this, I had to go pee tonight. Probably. But I take it. I think it's worth it. I said it in the YouTube video about headlamps, that one good thing is actually to take away this big lamp that I've been using for traveling and navigating during the night. This is the lupine lamp. And then I put a smaller lamp on. And this smaller lamp I can keep as a necklace like this. So during the night I know exactly where it is. And this also have a weaker light like this. Another thing that's important is that you need something over your head. It can be something like a buff. This is very thin, but if it's really cold, I wear one of these. But I also wear the hoodie from my wool hoodie. I don't need that tonight. And for the pillow, I have a bag with my clothes. But you see, this is very stiff with a lot of air inside. So then I had to compress it, take out some air, and then it becomes a little bit more comfortable, or what I think is more comfortable. You maybe think something else is comfortable. Another thing that you have seen here is all the light that I have in the roof. I really enjoy having these LED lamps in the roof, and they are kind of tiny, and you get them for €5, €10, something like that. They are not expensive. If we find something similar to what we use, I put a link down here. And they use standard batteries, and the string, the LED string, can have different number of meters, and I enjoy that I can put it around like this in the whole tent. Now it's time for sleeping. I will put an alarm because otherwise I will sleep super long. See you tomorrow. Ciao. When we talk about camping routines in the winter, the morning routines are really important, because when you wake up in the sleeping bag, it's not the best moment of your life when you want to step out of the sleeping bag. In the sleeping bag, hopefully it's warm, but outside the sleeping bag, not warm. I'm lucky because I have the tent with the stove, so I just put my arms out, I prepared the fire, so I just turn on the fire, and then after 20 minutes it's warm in the tent, and that make my life easier here. Also for my guests, when we do tours, they can step out of the sleeping bag and come into my tent that's warm, so that's also make it easier. If you don't have that opportunity, I really recommend you make a bottle of tea, make a bottle of coffee, hot water, prepare it. So when you wake up, you can just put your arms out and reach a cup of tea and reach a cup of coffee, still in your sleeping bag. But be aware that you're not flipping your mug into the sleeping bag, because a wet sleeping bag is not what you want. But it is so cozy to stay in the sleeping bag and get the first tea or coffee. Oh, that's what you'd want. That's what I want, at least. When I don't have the wood stove in the tent, the hot tent, then I have the fuel stove. So normally I put out my arms, switch on the stove, make some tea, make some coffee, or have it in the bottle and drink it also. But I very often want some heat source in my tent. I always bring a little bit extra fuel for my stoves for this moment. But as I told you yesterday, when you use stoves in the tent that don't have the pipe and are not made for normal tent, you know, be super careful with the ventilation. If you wake up in the night and you feel I need to pee or do the toilet, do the toilet. Don't wait. If you stay in the sleeping bag and you feel, oh, I need to pee, you will be cold. That's fact. That's how it is. It's not nice to step out of the sleeping bag and go for peeing, but you know where you have the shoes, you know where you can walk on the snow, if you need snowshoes or if you need the skis, put them on, do it. And
make an extra loop around the tent to get warm again. But you don't need to dress on all your stuff. You can do it with less clothes, but you're not allowed to fall in the snow with underwear without the layers outside. So you must be careful also. Falling in the snow, coming back to the sleeping bag, not a good idea. If you wake up and you are cold, there is different things you can do. What I usually don't want to do is to step out of the sleeping bag, because I want to keep the heat in there. Sometimes I put an extra pullover over on me, or extra long johns. In the evening I have prepared extra clothes in a bag beside me, so if I need them I can reach them and I can put them over me. If you have a jacket like this that you don't want inside and shouldn't have inside, you can put it on top of your sleeping bag also. Every time when you open the sleeping bag for changing clothes, adding clothes and so on, you're losing heat. Then you have to get warm again. And one good thing that I very often do is to make sit-ups in the sleeping bag. I close the sleeping bag and then I do sit-ups. I tighten my muscles, big muscle groups in the leg, tighten them, relaxing, tighten them, relaxing, tighten them, relaxing. I do that with the whole body, so I really use the muscles, because then you get circulation and you get warm. Because when you're using muscles, you're burning energy, and when you're burning energy, you get warm. So the important thing with the morning routines is that you make things that you like and that you think is cozy. Make the morning to something that you're looking forward to, because then it's easier. I love to not be in stress in the morning. I love to have a lot of time having breakfast, drinking tea, drinking coffee, make toilet, and so I don't like this out of sleeping bag and go. Of course, sometimes you are on a journey and you had to step up early in the morning and you had to go, but that's another different story. So now the fire is out in the stove, and as you see, my sleeping bag have been laying here all the time, because I really want to pack that as the last thing that I'm packing. I will give it as much possibility as possible to dry out. That could be the same if you are camping in the mountains in April. If you pack it directly when you wake up, it's still moisture, wet and so on. If you wait a little bit, it gets a little bit warmer in the tent. It also gets a little bit from the sun, you know, and then it dries out a little bit. And that's better than packing it wet. But there is moment when you should keep it packed away. So if you have a lot of condensation in the tent, if you have a lot of possibility that a wet dog jump up on the sleeping bag or something like that, then you should pack it away, because you must calculate, will it be drier or will it be wetter if I let it be there. So that was a short glimpse into some of the routines I use when I go winter camping. Of course, this is a big subject and all of you want to find your way of doing it, and I hope you picked something from me that you maybe can use. And if you have other ideas, please add them in the comment down below. It's always helpful to see what you think about this, because we share knowledge, and I'm not the kind of guru who know everything. I also learn every day new stuff. So I like to see what you're writing. I also want to make a review of this tent, because it has some really good things with it, but there is some small weak spots also that I'm not 100% sure of actually. But that's another video. If you want to see me dog sledding, you have tons of that kind of video on our channel. Now I'm loading up the sled, packing down the camp and heading back home together with my 10 huskies. I hope I see you next video. Have a nice life. Ciao.